Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Gen Free Podcast. Can I get a little bit of a round of applause? Yay, yay. This is a student-led podcast focused on discovering God's freedom in our everyday lives. And I said that weird, but we can ignore that. All right, I'm your host, Ayana, and then we have
Welcome
Sawyer.
to the Gen Free Podcast. This is me, Sawyer Robertson.
Yeah, just you, apparently. Anyways, and then we also have Ireland, who's back with us again. Yay. And then we have our special guest. Yes. Well, I cannot speak English today. Wow. All right. Our special guest, who I love very much, Heather Hilker. Another round of applause. Yay, I'm so excited. Like, I've been wanting to do this with you. I'm like, I was looking forward to it.
That's
All right. So, you are a woman of many talents, on top of it being a dog sitter. So for this icebreaker, I ask, if you were a dog, what dog would you be? And it doesn't have to be a breed. Like, if it's just a type, like, describe a dog, you can just describe a dog.
Okay. Well, I mean, I love Scooby-Doo, but I don't think I am like Scooby-Doo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I do love him. Well, my best friend Morgan, who you guys know, she always says that I'm like a husky because, like, the huskies are the ones that are, like, always singing and all that kind of stuff.
I
see that.
And so I think it's probably like that. Like, mainly in regards to the singing nature of huskies and how they're very vocal.
But look at us go.
But yeah, I just really love beagles. I grew up with beagles.
Oh,
They're
I wanted
just
a beagle
super
so
loyal
bad when I was little.
and they're very fun and rambunctious. And I don't know. I can't pick dogs, but I guess a husky.
I could see you. Sometimes I feel like dogs like match people's personality.
Oh, yeah.
faces. I see husky.
Definitely. Like when you see like the dogs and their owners, like how
you
they
were correct.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. But yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah,
I'll see a
like
dog with its owner, and I'm like, yeah,
they look alike.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Even though they're like a human and a dog, but
Yeah,
it
your
makes
turn.
sense.
Yours.
Oh, maybe like a dash hound, like the little wiener dogs.
Yeah,
Or like-
I could see that.
I love those. Those are like my favorite dogs.
The
Or
long hair ones or the little short hair ones?
I don't know. I feel
I
like
think you'd be a short hair.
a short hair, I guess.
You'd be
I don't
brown,
know.
you
Or
have
like a
red
border
collar.
collie. But like I think more of a dash hound.
Yeah, I see mine.
But I just
I
like
think
border
you
collies.
have
They're
a
cute.
little-
Dachshund or
like-
dachshund?
I don't know.
I think
the one
it's-
that looks like a hot dog.
Yeah, is it a dachshund?
I think it's dachshund.
Oh,
you'd
dachshund.
be the
I
hot
said the
dog.
wrong one. What
It's
is
the
a
same
dash
thing.
hound?
I mean, I think that's what you're trying to say. is
Yeah, it's
dachshund.
dachshund. See, this why we have
Which one's a
Heather on.
dachshund?
Yeah, what's a dash hound? Wait, is that like? No, never mind.
How do you spell the thing you're trying to say?
I mean,
That's a unit.
I mean,
That's a
I-
unit.
A wiener.
H.
Oh my
They're like
goodness.
DAs.
Well,
This is
wiener
not.
dog,
This is an
wiener dog.
English
Yeah,
class.
that's a
Yeah, a
dachshund.
wiener dog.
That'd be so cute.
Yeah, dachshund.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
Now I need to Google what a dash hound is. 'Cause
Do it
I
after
know.
the
Yeah.
episode.
Google, but like, do you mean dachshund?
dachshund,
What's
yeah.
the difference? All right, Sawyer. I
I
already have ideas for you.
yeah, I don't really know what I would be,
Labrador
but
retriever.
That's. I was thinking a lab, like a yellow lab,
Yellow lab.
because he's very energetic
Or golden
all the
retriever.
time,
That's
Yeah.
what they say.
Yeah.
They're very like.
yeah,
and they're just like never out of energy,
Nah.
and they smile like this.
I feel like
Yeah,
that's probably
really?
what I'd be.
Oh
what I'd
no,
be.
I could see
I'm
it.
sorry, I didn't
And he's
even
just
let
so
you answer. I'm just
friendly.
No,
Yeah.
I just agree
Approachable.
with it. I totally agree.
Yeah,
Because
you-
like
whenever
if you see
it,
a
you're not
golden
scared.
retriever, you're not gonna be like, oh my god, it's gonna attack me.
Yeah, exactly. I've
Yeah.
never heard of a golden retriever
That's like been.
attacking
Yeah, no.
No.
I don't know.
Maybe on like Caesar, like what's
Caesar-
that's Caesar.
Caesar 101.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah, I've
gosh.
never seen that.
I've seen a lab, but I haven't seen a golden
You've
retriever.
seen a lab, for
Yeah.
real. I usually see dogs like my dog, like
Same.
yeah, like
That's
pit
in our
bulls
bulldogs.
I love my dogs.
and dogs. Yeah,
My dog is
I
crazy.
have two golden doodles.
Oh, I had two
Oh,
dogs.
that's what you are.
Yeah, a golden doodle. Yeah.
That name though.
You kind of look like not Samson,
Scout.
Scout.
Is that
Yeah.
your
He looks like a polar bear.
Oh, I know.
I love
you
him.
Would be.
Yeah,
would be a
Scout.
golden
His dog is Scout.
Scout. That's
Yeah,
cute.
that's the dog he is.
Yeah, he's 10. I love him.
He's 10.
He's
Yeah.
10.
Oh wow, he's been around.
An oldie but a goodie.
Yeah.
Oh, he's great. I love him.
Okay, before I get to my dog, I want to ask you, what dog would you think I am?
Oh. Giving off like a Rottweiler or something.
I can see that.
Oh, like a Rottweiler.
I just thought I'd ask him to throw it off.
I almost would say German Shepherd
Okay.
For real?
because they're fierce but lovable and they're very protective over
Mm.
the people that they care about.
Yeah.
I did not know
Yeah.
that. Usually when I see
Yeah, I
them,
can
it's
see
just-
that.
Yeah, I see that. Like,
good because I didn't know. That's why I asked. But yeah.
But then I see Enoch, American. The
You see my big dog.
Just like, oh,
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Weighed him. He's about to get weighed. My mom said he might be around like 90 something, pushing 100.
But he's not overweight. Like,
He's not overweight.
He's just nice and
looked
he's
chunkier.
bulky.
We're looking at him.
Oh,
We're like,
gosh, he's so cute.
that means
He's
he's
so
30
cute.
pounds above my brother Abel. Like Abel is like 64 and he's yeah, I was telling Michaela about this. Like
It's
he
like
went
walking.
to jump on
Oh,
he went to
my
like just like snuggle with Abel and Abel's like pushing it off and I forget like that's 30 pounds on top of a 10-year-old boy. Like 30 extra pounds.
He probably don't even care, does he?
So get mine.
Who, Abel?
Yeah.
No, Abel screamed.
Oh.
Abel hates it. He's like pushing him
like,
off.
"Get off."
He's like,
He's like, I
I
can't breathe.
understand.
Yeah,
I
me and my
understand
dog
why.
were like the same weight for the longest time.
I don't know, because your dog, you have a big dog too. You have a pit bull, right? Or
She's
bulldog?
a American Bulldog, so it's like a lab and an American Bulldog mix.
Oh.
She's like the same coloration as,
Yeah, they're like the same.
I didn't
Your dog's middle name though? is-
Plata.
Yes, I can never remember it.
It's
Adam
shoulder
always says
blade.
that.
It's
I'm
because Dad does jujitsu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what Adam says.
Yeah, I don't know why we chose that name. Well, why they chose that name. I don't know why my mom allowed that to happen, but it's okay. Inakumu Plata. There's a shout out to my dog. Anyways, so guess what we're talking about today? Singleness. Singleness, which is
Single.
a topic I do not hear covered very often in the church.
Yeah.
Which I feel like it should be, seeing how we're always told to stay pure, stay chaste, wait till marriage. But then it's like, okay, but
You're
I
just
gotta be single for a long time. Why don't we touch on that?
I feel like they talk about like relationships all the time, but
It's like they pass over it. They
Yeah.
they go straight to especially for a
Dating
woman. I feel like they go straight to being a mom and
Mhm.
being,
Yeah.
and then it's
It seemed
like
that way.
I'm like but
You got
I'm gonna be single for a
Yeah.
long time, man. Can you elaborate? Which is why we have you, Heather. So I just want you to start off a little bit with your testimony in the aspect of this. So then we can get in. We can get into the meat of it.
the juicy stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Well, I mean, as a kid, I had those same kind of desires, thinking about wanting to be married and wanting to be a mom and stuff like that. The funny thing is, I almost just hit that button.
Sound effect button.
Oh, I'd have been like, no. And I used to be like, I'm going to be married by the time I'm 25. Well, meanwhile, I'm 35 now. So that didn't happen. But honestly, I think ever since I was a kid, I never really looked ahead too much. I was always a very present person. So once I started hitting a certain age, I started hitting 25, 26, and then I think 26 and 27 was around that area and time where people around me in church or whatever, my mom, God love her, but I mean, she only ever had one. She only ever had me. I'm an only child. I'm an only grandchild, only niece.
Wow, only everything.
Wow.
Only
Christmas
everything.
must have been
super spoiled. Yeah, got everything I ever wanted.
Yeah.
But
Good for you.
Guitar hero every year.
yeah,
Yes.
but no, I've been super blessed in my life with my family. But she always just wanted to be able to take care of kids, to love kids, and she always wanted more. So she would be like, "So when are you gonna make me a grandmother?"
Yeah.
And not knowing that she was kind of putting a bit of pressure on the area. I'm like, I don't know, Mom. There's got to be another person in the equation because I'm not going to go and have kids outside of marriage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I grew up in church, so being in youth group, it's always this focus of relationships and all of that stuff. And I had a boyfriend when I was 14, and I dated him for a year and a half, and then I had another boyfriend when I was 16, and that was about it. I dated that guy for around almost a year, and then there were other people that I kind of talked to, but other than that, I never really had a lot of relationships. So I just I knew when I was a kid and when I was in middle school, I promised the Lord that I would wait for marriage. And I'm remaining in that promise because I want to be able to give that part of myself to only my husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just meant a lot to me to be able to hold on to something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I've been in that, and it doesn't mean I haven't compromised in other areas, but it's just stuff that I've worked through in my life, and I've been able to really hold on to some stuff because I was like, God, I just want to give this to you and to my husband. Yeah. So I got around 26 and 27, and those pressures, normal pressures, like even the world is like, you can only have kids up to a certain age, and then you start to lose your capacity to have kids and all this kind of stuff. And meanwhile, I've seen miraculous things happen to women who are barren and older, and the story in the Bible about Sarah and Abraham, like that's an amazing story. She was in her 90s and had a child. Yeah. So I trust the Lord in that area of my life. And I'm like, no matter how long, if I do ever get married one day, I want to get married one day. I trust him. But it took me a while to get to that point because 26, 27, I started to allow just those kind of thoughts enter my mind and starting to put pressure around the area of singleness and getting married. And I really was just like, I just want to be married. I just want to be married. I just want to be married. And the Lord, he just asked me, he said, if you never had someone to marry, or if you never got married, would I be enough for you? Wow. And the answer at the time was no. And it broke my heart. I was just like, I want you to be enough, because I've been leading worship ever since I was a teenager. Yeah. And you sing songs like, all of you is more than enough for me.
And you can sing, so.
And there's even that song Jireh by Maverick City, and they're like,
love that song.
You are enough, Jireh, you're enough. And we sing songs like that, and it's so poetic and nice. And I was starting to realize that what I was singing, what I was proclaiming, wasn't actually lining up with what I believed. And so I started to pray prayers like, God, if it doesn't happen, you are enough for me, and you did enough for me. If nothing ever comes my way again, you did enough for me when you died on the cross for me. And I wanted to truly believe that. I wanted to live it.
Yeah.
So I started to really pursue that because I just wanted him to be enough. And I wanted to be okay if it never happened. And it was almost like I was waiting for life to happen. At that point, I was like, well, I can't really move forward with life because I'm waiting to be married and I'm waiting to be a mom. And so it put a lot of things in my life on hold, but I literally heard him say, what are you waiting for? Yeah. Like you have all of me and you can do anything with me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay. And he wants to give you abundant life. That's with or without a spouse. Marriage isn't a promise. It's actually, Paul says in Corinthians that there's some who are called to be married. There's some who are called to be single. Yeah. So
I've heard that.
Yeah, I feel like anymore, like especially now, with like social media, there's definitely like pressure to be in a relationship with somebody and like move like towards that as you get older. Whereas like I feel like I've touched this on another episode where I said that like Jesus was single for his entire life, and we're supposed to follow him, and like he was never in a romantic relationship, but he also said that that is positive to be in a relationship, but and like as you were saying, some are not called to that. I feel like definitely dealing with the pressure in this day and age is something that we all like have struggled with and like will at some point in our lives.
Yeah, I think so.
I guess you could say that. I wouldn't even say just this age. I feel like it's been every age, because I love history, so I love doing research, and a lot of, even in like, we were learning about ancient Rome, if like a woman was past a certain age, they were like outcasted. Like certain cultures will outcast women and even men alike who were not married by a certain time because they couldn't like fulfill the destiny of reproducing or being whatever overarching religion or overarching culture or belief was to that gender. And it's so weird to think about it, because it's like we still have the same thing going on, which means we're still struggling even within the church now. Because I know you said something about pressures, and you pretty much hit all the questions I had.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No. There's no need to be sorry, because now we can go more in depth.
Yeah.
But you hit them, so I could there's already an introduction.
Okay, cool.
All right. So I'm gonna ask you one of these questions because I know you were talking about the pressures, and then we were talking about pressures within the church, a little smidge. So my question is, have you ever felt that being a single Christian woman defined your worth to yourself and to others, specifically the church?
I would say there's still times where I struggle with it, because I think that especially my status in the church now, a lot of people know who I am, and a lot of people know that I'm not married.
Yeah.
So I think it's so crazy how someone can walk into the church and they can be completely new, and your eyes are immediately drawn to that hand with the ring on the finger, and if it's there or not.
Yeah.
So I still find myself doing that. And I remember one time just being like, God, if my eyes directly go to a man's hand to see if he's married or not, I'm just take it out. Take it out of there. I don't want to even do that kind of stuff. But I mean, because it's almost like, I don't think anyone's really putting this on anyone, but it's almost like you're lesser in some way if you don't have that. And then some people are like, well, you must be so strong that you don't need a man. And then the world will try to kind of twist that and be like, it's a women empowerment thing. But I actually really think that it's not really anyone's intention to put worth around singleness or marriage on someone, but some people genuinely just love marriage. They love the idea of marriage. I love the idea of love.
I love love.
Yeah. And so some people, they're just well, I'm married and I think that you should be married because being married is awesome. So it might just be that, but it's pressures that I think people don't realize that they're doing almost, because who's to say that the single person you're talking to about getting married doesn't really desire that?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they feel the pressure oh gosh, that this is a desire, God, and these people are talking to me about it. It's I can't really do anything about it, especially for women, because I wholeheartedly believe that it is not a woman's job to pursue.
Oh yeah.
It's actually proven to us in the way that our relationship with the Lord imitates what marriage should look like in the natural. I think the marriage imitates what our relationship looks like with the Lord.
Yeah.
That intimacy and that kind of trust and that kind of laying down your life for one another. So when we look at how the Lord has pursued us in our life, it talks about in the word how he was the one who actually pursued us. He laid his life down before we even knew what love was. Before, when we were still sinners, he gave himself for us. And it says, no one comes to the Father except through me. And he actually draws us to him. Our capacity to know him and to know his love is actually because he's pursued us. And he, in that time when we come and judgment day comes and we're in eternity, we are the bride and he is the groom. So he's constantly pursued us, and our heart was then turned towards him. And we see that in how he's pursued us as his bride.
Yeah.
To love him. And I just see that as in the natural, you're mimicking that, and a groom is to pursue his bride. And I think it's the bride's job, the woman's job, to really just be concerned about aligning herself and giving her body and mind completely over to the Lord. I think that for men too, but because I'm a woman, I really focus on the whole bride side. I focus on the woman's responsibility.
It's your guideline almost.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird to say, but that's the only way I interpret it in my head. But Sway, you're a guy.
I am a guy.
You are a guy.
It's a good thing you're here.
It's because I was looking, I'm there are 3 women, but I don't, as you said, I don't know it from the male perspective. So can you add anything onto that?
Well, like as I was saying earlier, I've definitely like felt the pressure to get into a relationship, but I feel like with me, like I definitely like need to like slow down and not rush it and really sit with the Lord in like making like decisions to pursue someone in that way. So I really have to take time for it and like also like get to know the person better and know like what type of relationship they may be looking for and like what they like desire from a relationship. So
pretty selfless. Actually.
Yeah.
I sometimes feel like some people look at relationships in a selfish aspect, and that kind of
it's like what can they give me?
Yeah.
What can I get? And I don't believe it's supposed to be like that at all. Which is why it was interesting you brought up the woman empowerment thing, because that is a thing now. It's kind of like a movement, which I believe
like being
is rooted,
single is like powerful, but like sometimes
but
you feel
even well they say single is empowerment, but then they'll go sleeping around, they'll do certain things that doesn't really line up with what they're putting out. So I thought it was actually awesome that you mentioned it, because I'll see like Facebook, Instagram Reels, TikTok, where like women are tired of not being pursued, so they feel like if they make themselves, I felt like this, if I made myself more masculine, I became my own man, I wouldn't have this hurt no more. And actually it's the total opposite. So it's not really on topic, but the fact that you mentioned that, I'm like, because it's something that people are going through right now. They're single, but they're not being single for the right reason. Like it sounds like the right reason, like not doing it to pursue God. They're doing it like, oh, I could still get my needs and I can still but I can be alone, and that just creates a lot of that destroys you. So that's why I thought I'd ask that. Do you have anything you want to add? Because
I mean, not necessarily. I think I like agree with what Heather said, like with like the whole like pursuing. Like I definitely like have learned from that. I feel like in school, like, you know, like have you ever had like your girlfriends and they're like, oh, like you go talk to him or something like that. Like they're like, oh, be the bigger person and stuff. And I feel like that it's like the whole like thing of like men like pursuing the women. I feel like that's kind of like disappeared, and like nobody really like hears that anymore. Like it's just not normal. Like it should be normal, but it's not. And I'm like, whenever I explain to my friends like, oh, the whole like wait until marriage or about they think that like it's like I'm forced to do that, or like
I get the same
and
thing,
like or like I'll say something, oh like like I'm wearing a marriage like and they're just like, oh, like was that something you had to do for church? Like it's just something
so disgusting.
Yeah, they get like
as
really
if,
like
if my body is my choice and I'm able to have the choice to, if I let's say in singles, I could stay single and sleep around. If I have that choice, why can't I not stay single and wait till marriage? Why is that so looked down upon now? It's still my choice either way.
It's
like even the argument doesn't really stand.
I mean, the Bible actually addresses the whole sexual impurity thing. Like, I mean, it says right here in 1 Corinthians 6, actually. It says, don't you know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who lives in you and was given to you by God, because he purchased us with a price, and that was the blood of Jesus. You do not belong to yourself, for God bought you with a high price, so you must honor God with your body. And so when it comes to that stuff, like people don't tell you when you go to live your life for Jesus that you have to literally lay down everything in your life for him. But he's worth it.
It is. It's really.
That's good.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna just transition to another question before it just gets quiet and we all stare at each other. All right.
Awkward silence.
So you also kind of touched on this. How do you serve the Lord through your singleness or through other capacities? Because we talked about like the pressures being a mom and a wife, but then like you said you still serve God, and we kind of touched on that you're a worship leader. You do other things. So how do you how do you do it?
Yeah. I mean, I knew from a young age that I wanted to lead worship, that I felt like God told me at 14 that he anointed me to lead worship. And I was like, awesome, because I love music and I love worshiping and I love singing to him. So I started to pursue that. And even then, I always thought about like wanting to be in ministry with my husband. I still think that at times. And I proclaim that, like I prophesy over that in my life. I'm like, yes, I want to be in ministry with my husband. want to sing with them.
Yeah, that's cute.
But and then there's other ways. Like I get to be a worship director over an entire ministry of people. And a lot of people in my ministry that I get to lead, they're married and they have little kiddos. Yeah. And I love to, like, just because you're single does not mean that you can't enjoy being around married people and being, like, just seeing. And I actually love to see and do life with people who are married, because I get to, especially within my own community of church and other like-minded believers, because I get to see what godly marriage looks like.
Yeah.
I get to see what godly parenting looks like. So I love to serve in ways of just going, and I mean, pet sitting in a way is like my own kind of like service, because I love dogs. So I serve in that capacity, or I've been known to watch some kiddos every now and then.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't put it out there normally because I
just did
prefer dogs. I did just do that.
Yeah.
I prefer dogs.
You're going to get like a tons of text messages now.
Okay, noted.
But no, I just, for the people that I get to lead, I've just been like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm like able to lead those people as well.
Yeah.
People who are married, people with kids.
Heather.
Yeah, it's like I'm in
Nanny.
Yeah, nanny.
I want to say
that
nanny.
sounds
No, I'm
old.
just kidding.
Titi. You're like a cool aunt.
Yeah,
A cool auntie.
yeah, I guess. So, and I heard Ruth Vega say the same thing.
For real? Someone called you Titi.
No, she says that she likes to be she just takes kids and watches them.
All the kids
for
like the
her
cool
friends
aunt,
and
you
stuff
know?
like that. Ruth Vega.
Yeah.
It was at the singles thing that Nilda had at her house.
Oh, I forgot the name of her.
Yeah.
Because that's also because I remember some of these being touched when you were talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes being the cool aunt is better. No kid
true.
gets mad at the cool aunt.
That's
Like-
true.
No, that is true. You'll be mad for a second and you'll be like,
It's the
but.
cool- yeah.
So.
Like, mom?
Yeah.
But she got me Starbucks.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I
Start-
serve in that way. I love serving at our youth group, and I love bringing up those kids in worship ministry is where I get to lead them, and I'm just like, cool. I get to show you guys what I'm passionate about, and you're young, and I love pouring into young people in that capacity. Like you guys are literally the next generation, and that's how I can serve in the capacity of in the place that I'm in and being single. And Paul says again right here in this like area where I camp out when it comes to singleness in 1 Corinthians 7, it says like as a woman who isn't married, you're more devoted to the Lord in body and spirit, while the married woman must be concerned about her earthly responsibilities and how to please her husband. Like I get to say yes to something without having to go to somebody else and be like, can I do this?
That's so cool.
Oh, that is actually,
And so-
I never thought of it like that.
So
Answer to the Lord.
yes, I can literally only be concerned about things that I can do for the Lord and that's pleasing to God. And I can live in the capacity. And I really think it just boils down to every season of your life is a gift from God. Married, being a mother, just being married without kids, being single, it's a gift every season. It's not a sin to be married, even though Paul's like, I wish that you would remain as I am, because he stayed single his entire career and his ministry was completely devoted to the Lord. And there's not a lot of people that we see like Paul in his ministry even now, but it's not a sin to be married, but I think every season is a gift from God, and that's how you need to look at it. So instead of yearning for something, just learn to be present and learn to realize that like there's something for you right now, and there's a way for you to glorify God in your life and in what you're doing now. And there's things that he actually gives you the responsibility over that you can steward well right now.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with everything you said.
Oh, yeah.
It's just because then I started thinking about like my own experience when it comes to like relationships are weird, and I love being single. I mean, I'm.
I know she was just discussing this earlier.
I was discussing this earlier because I was talking to somebody, and then it just like it didn't like nothing happened out of it, and I'm not mad about it, But then I was like, literally like, man, I'm kind of happy it didn't happen. I'm really enjoying, I'm really enjoying it. And it's because I can actually, as you say, like, you can just run to God. You can just run with God, just run with it. And I don't have to be like, can I like do this to like a man? I'm just not like that's bad, but like I could just, that this version of communion this season is different than, let's say, what my mom has now. My mom's married and she has kids, and I don't have that responsibility. So her relationship with God looks different from mine. But there was a season when she would pursue God out of her singleness. Like, and that was also a beautiful thing, but it's also, she's not gonna get that back. She's not gonna get that back. Sure. This is a beautiful season in itself. And I love it. I love it. It sounds so weird to say, but I enjoy it thoroughly. Do you guys want to say anything? Do you guys have anything to input?
I mean, I like what Heather said, like I never really put it into perspective of like, oh, like there's so, like it's different, like how you serve God when you're single than like when you're married. Like it's just like I never thought of it being like, oh, this is a season, and like what you said, like you never get that back. Like, and I just thought that was really cool, like that.
Yeah.
It's really, because I feel like even like now we'll be in youth group and like girls, like they just talk about like getting married like this age, you know, and like we've had couples in our church get married really young. Now like girls, like they want to like, oh, I'm gonna do this and then jump in, and like you know, and like I've been one of those people too, and like I'm like super careful, like I will not date like anybody at school. It's like if they're not Christian, like if they do not fear God, I will not like anything like that is not me. So like just seeing this, like hearing this is like really cool, and I think like even like kids everywhere like will hear this, and like I think it's cool.
Yeah, definitely. I believe it is.
Yeah.
Now, male perspective over here.
A little bit different.
It's because I just have to say it because I'm like, maybe we should have had another guy. We should have also had another guy. I don't know. Because I'm like, you're just sitting here, we're talking about like the women perspective.
Yeah, women being the bride. Like, and
you're like, okay,
yep.
Well.
This makes sense.
Yes.
Makes him understand women a little bit better.
I agree.
Well, yeah, you probably are getting a different perspective. You're like, that's why I want to know.
Well, I mean, I do have 2 older sisters, so I've been like around it.
More often.
With my dad at work, I've been like around it more, and I've definitely like seen relationships with my sisters, and like seeing how that's gone, and so I feel like I have that to go off of, like knowing like a female perspective, but
yeah, your sisters are good role models.
I
love them.
No,
they're great. They're great.
Like on record. Oh no.
Oh.
No,
they're gonna watch this and be like,
I did love what you said earlier, because you were like, I just don't really have. You were like, I don't really have an urgency to, so I just sit and wait, and that's I think it's just good.
Yeah.
To do that. It's good to just invite the Lord into everything that you're doing. You can talk to him about literally anything.
Yeah.
And because we have the Spirit, like he'll reveal so many things to you, and yeah.
Because I mean, like it'd be great to be in a relationship, and I'd probably enjoy, but I don't want to rush it and get into something that I would regret.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Because
so I do. I just like kind of here's my life. As you want. Like, and like I've had like I think like he's talked to me and been like, okay, like this is what's gonna happen. Like wait, and like so I'm like, obviously gonna listen, because like there's no point in dating somebody that is not gonna go anywhere, and like that's not gonna go anywhere. Like if you don't have the same intentions, there's no point in like
I feel like dating is the get to know you before marriage, like before a relationship, before marriage. Because I feel so like when people say dating, they say it as if like a lot of people I know say it as if it is dating is the relationship. At dating,
they're like, if you're not thinking of marriage, then you shouldn't.
Yes,
be doing it. But then, how do you know if you're actually?
How do you know your motive?
Yeah.
Actually, that should be. I didn't write this down, but how did you know your motive? Like how do you know your motive is pure, or was there a time you questioned it?
Oh yeah, there's been multiple times I've questioned my motives. That's why I feel like, I mean, the Lord is super good with just revealing your own motive towards you, because everything can start out with a pure motive. And then even that motive can become twisted.
Yeah.
So it's a constant checking in and literally living life through Jesus and him and you and him. And I think that's something he actually recently revealed to me, because I I don't know. I was just asking him all kinds of questions around the whole marriage thing. And then like, because you're supposed to be living your life, mind, body, and soul completely like devoted to the Lord, and you don't want to, like, you can't allow sexual immorality in your life and that kind of stuff. And you're abstaining. But then all of a sudden you're into it. And I started to have this real conversation with God, because I was like, God, one day, like if you tarry, like, and I am married, it's just going to become like this moment of, okay, this is not okay, and now it is okay. If you understand what I'm catching.
Strange transition.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's weird. How am I gonna like
Shift.
Yeah, shift into that. What's that?
Yeah,
I've
definitely like heard that before. And like had like I've spoken to people where it's like that like sex before marriage is just like so discouraged, and like people talk about it like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And then like as soon as you get married, it's just free game.
It's like normal. It's
and
but they don't talk about it.
They don't.
I don't like. There's no advice. Like I don't.
They
see
just
any
talk
advice
about kind of
columns. They're just
like-
like, oh, full swing.
Yeah, they're just like,
now
it's
you
like,
can go, and then it becomes the purpose
Yeah.
to get married because you want to do that.
yeah. It's like so weird. It's
And
like,
it can be a pure motive that turns into a perverted
impure
one.
one, yeah.
And it's so funny. So I'm not dealing with that, but I'm dealing with the opposite. So trigger wording. I have dealt with multiple sexual assaults and lots of sexual abuse. So for me, like when I was talking with God, because I don't know about you, but I always pray for, like I try to pray for my husband. I don't know who he is, where he is,
Absolutely.
but I feel like I'm like, hey, I'm watching out for you, even though like,
I think it's important.
yeah. And actually I got that, I forget, I think SB got me onto that. Like she said something about it one day and I was like,
love
you know what,
SB.
I should just
Start doing it.
yeah, I should just start doing that. And so I have been for a few months now. But then I had that question with God. I'm like, God, all this stuff has happened to me and I really don't feel comfortable. Should I like, how will I navigate it when I'm married? And I don't have the answer to that. And if I've inquired people and they don't really have the answer to that either. And it's just kind of like, because for me, you know how some people, it's like that motive to get married. For that, for me, the motive that makes me deter from getting married or being in a relationship is that component. And it's just like, because it's free, like it kind of, people make it seem like it's whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, if it's whatever, what the heck am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And so that was a pretty random thought, but that's what it made me.
Yeah, and I feel like people, they just like, they're like, it's so bad, like they just like what sort of said, like don't do this, and then you get married, and then you're just like, okay, and like they don't really talk about that, like they just kind of like, okay, like once you get married, then you're allowed to do it, but it's just like that. Yeah. Like, okay, like it's weird because it's like, okay, it's been like so wrong my entire life and like told to like stay away from it, and now I'm just like allowed to do it, and like what? It's just
then you're just like just
thrown into the deep end.
And then even regardless of the sexual component and the sexual like the immoral parts of sexuality, it's also just from when it seems with marriage, it's like it also seems, I think it's so almost advertised in churches, like, oh, wait till you're married, or oh, can you not wait to be married? You want to be married? You want to have kids? And it's like, at least for me, it's always been shoved in my face that also the world especially, like relationship stuff has always been shoved in my face, that it's almost like it seems like an act of rebellion in both worlds to be like, I'm fine where I'm at. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I definitely feel on the other end of that, like after somebody gets married, the next question is, when are you going to have kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like,
that's a pressure for
sure. Definitely. It's like, okay, you're married now. Next step. Like what?
Yep. It's like moving on to the next thing right after.
And then like you have a kid and they're like, okay, like when's the next one?
When's the next one?
Yeah.
Like, it's always the next thing.
Yeah.
When
it's never like you can't just like
slow.
stay in the,
And that's like
she said she's a very present person. It's like you can't stay in the present. Like it's always.
And you can't just stay in the present. You can't stay in the presence. Like if you keep rushing it, how are you going to actually commune with God and stay in that presence and that peace and where you are at that moment? Because every day is a gift. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. I'm not guaranteed that I'm ever going to get married. Like I don't know. I could be dead tomorrow and like that's a gruesome way to think, but I could
it's true,
be.
Though.
It's true, and it's very realistic. And so if I'm so worried about the next thing and not staying in the moment, communing with God and listening to what he has to say and what his promises over my life, then my life is meaningless. And then in a way, my singleness would be meaningless if I'm just trying to rush to get married and to pursue other things. And I'm not, because I'm not learning anything. I'm not asking the hard questions. God, what does it mean to be your child? What does it mean to one day be someone's wife? What does you skip past that whole thing and then you're just thrown into a season that you're not ready for.
Yeah. I don't think I would rush it. I don't rush it, but I think about it a lot. I'm like, okay, here's my future husband, all this stuff. And I've had dreams every now and then, and I think that's all my mind goes to. And it kind of is it distracts me from God. So I'm like, okay, well, what am I trying to say? I'm so focused on relationships that it takes you away from the most important relationship. And it,
it deters.
Yeah. And
it's pretty common.
That's why I kind of just was okay, staying single until I know.
I think that's how your motive can be revealed to you. He's good enough to reveal your motives in those areas if that's on your mind consistently and it's actually taking you away from him. Because anything that's done with him will be easy.
Yeah.
He gives you grace. He empowers you to do things. And I think when you're striving is when you kind of realize you're out of his path, out of what he wants for your life. And so if it's causing something that is not the Lord, if it's not peace, if it's not joy, if it's not these things that he is, then you're outside of that. And then you're beginning to, your motives can be revealed to you in that capacity.
Well, I know we got to wrap up soon, but I do have one more question. Yeah. Do you believe God has promised, I read that wrong. I wrote it down because I knew I'd say it wrong, and I still said it wrong doing it. So I'm gonna follow it wrong. Do you believe God has promises for you in the terms of not being single one day?
I want to. So the Bible says in Psalm, I believe, I can't remember where it is, but it says, delight in the Lord with all of your heart, or delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. I can't believe that I don't know the scripture reference because I reference it all the time, but I forget.
You're good.
Little details.
It's fine.
But the first part of that is delight in the Lord.
Yeah.
And if you're living your life in him, with him, through him, he will give you his joy. He will give you abundance. And when you do that and you find that there's a desire in your heart to want those things, I believe that he'll give you those things. And I have to trust and believe that he wants to give you gifts, promises, and that stuff. As a marriage is not a promise. So
yeah.
That's still in my heart at times. I boil it down and I'm like, do I actually really want this? Do I still want this? And there's times where I question it. But it still kind of comes up at times. So that's still something that I'm navigating, I think. I want to believe that one day I'll be married. And that's something that God revealed to me too, because Bob Ballinger, who goes to the church here, he's I somehow was talking to him and he was like, well, there's so many things that have to happen. And then let's just pray and believe that God will begin to do the things that involve getting you to this point of something that you want. And he prayed with me. And every time he sees me, he calls me Mrs. Heather, because that's the married Mrs. And every time he said it, I'd be like, it's so funny. But I wasn't actually feeling or believing that was going to happen. And so it's still things that I question. And you can take what I said earlier and be like, well, if not, he's still good. If this doesn't happen, I'll be okay, and he's more than enough. You can take that to a completely different side and a different degree in life, and then begin to be afraid to ask for those things.
Mm-hmm.
If it's in my heart, which I believe it still is, I'm like, okay, I want to say, yeah, this could happen for me one day. Yeah. Will I be okay if it doesn't? I believe I will be okay.
That's a great place to be.
Yeah.
It's a good mindset.
I feel like it goes along with the verse that says, you have not because you ask not.
Yeah.
And like we have to take it to him.
Yeah.
Make your request known to God.
Mm-hmm.
He showed me that in doing that, in the mode of my heart, trying to make him to be the only thing that was enough, was that I began to not ask because I was afraid that if I did, it would mean that he wasn't enough. So in that, I'm like, okay, well then I do want to ask. So I began again praying for my husband, and I began again saying, God, I believe this is a desire, but I am fully in you and you are fully in me, and I want to be present and be now and do what I can to give you all the glory through my life. So it's just, you recognize the season you're in. You love the season that you're in. If you don't love it, you invite him in that place. You be real with him and honest with him, and he will help you and reveal to you many things. And he teaches you more about yourself, because the more you become one with the one who is love, then he teaches you how to love yourself. And then what does the Bible say? Like, to love God and then love others as yourself. And if you can't love yourself, then you cannot love others.
Yeah.
And in a relationship, it's about laying your life down for the other. So I think that when it comes down to it and you're in your life of singleness and you're only concerned about the things of the Lord, he teaches you love, his perfect love. He teaches you how to love yourself. He teaches you things about yourself that you would never realize or understand. He teaches you how to see yourself and who you are in him. And then you begin to love yourself, and then you begin to have capacity to love other people in his perfect love. And I think it's like you just become one and whole and full in him. And once you have this realization, like, and somebody else has that realization, like that person that you might be married to one day, it's like, then you can come together and imagine the glory that God gets in a relationship like that. Where you both understand who you are and whose you are. And then you love each other selflessly in the same way that he's taught you. And then it's just so much more added to you in the midst of that.
Yeah.
That is so key. It's just,
I love that.
I don't have nothing to say to that. I'm just kind of processing like that. Wow. Like, God is great. And the fact that God's doing that through your life, I think sets an example for people our age.
That's cool.
And it sets an example to me. And I appreciate you.
I agree.
Yeah.
I appreciate you very much. Now, with that, we are going to get ready to close.
Okay.
Thank you so much for
Thanks for
your
having
wisdom.
me.
This
And
was
then-
excellent.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, this was awesome.
It's always been something on my heart that I like to talk about, because it's just been, it's literally what I'm living through.
Yeah.
So I just get to tell you how I process stuff
Yeah.
with the Lord.
And you help, like, I know you helped me with like some questions I had just in this short amount of time we talked.
So
So
that's cool.
Yeah, you answered a lot of mine. I didn't even ask any.
This was excellent. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Now we will close out in prayer now. Heather, would you like to close us out, or would anybody else? I always ask around the table, so raise your little hand and like.
Does anybody have the desire to want to? I mean, I'll do it, but if anybody else really wants to, you can totally.
Doesn't matter.
Whatever. You can take it.
Do you guys want to rock, paper, scissors? Okay, let's go, Heather. Wait, I'll go. Me and Heather will go.
Okay.
All right.
Rock, paper, scissors. Oh, you win.
Okay, I win. So
You choose?
I'll go.
Okay.
I'll go. You know what?
That's good.
I'll go.
Go for it, Ayana.
I don't
Be
know
the bigger
why
person.
I did all this just to do that.
Just to do that.
Just to be like, I was so confused because I thought I lost. Anyways, all right. Jesus, I thank you for this day. I thank you for everything that you have given us. I thank you for such the blessing that Heather is, and that she would be able to come and talk with us and about a subject that we all deal with that sometimes we don't even think about. And I'm just thankful that you instilled her with your wisdom and your power to talk about something like this. And I just thank you that I was able, and I hope everyone else was able to retain information and understand what the design for singleness is, and just how to do it with you and not apart from you, and discover our true motives. And in Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
All right. That's the end of this episode. Another round of applause because I like clapping. All right. Now, audience. You can follow us at Faith Like Birds on our YouTube channel, our Facebook, our Instagram, our TikTok, and yeah, that's it. I always want to say Twitter, but we don't have a Twitter, so not Twitter.
Not yet.
All right. We're done.
Yay.
Yay.